Hey everyone, it's Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone reminding you to watch Sports Ballers, the podcast that gets you caught up on everything Washington sports and beyond.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Sports Ballers podcast. I'm Evan Ash, joined as always by Corey Puffin and Eric Meyer. So let me just go ahead and start off by, I've been having some severe technical difficulties. I think there was a lightning strike right outside my window last night. So my cable and internet are both out, and I am recording the podcast live on my phone using cellular data. So if there's an issue with connection, I guess more than normal, or with audio quality, there's the source of it, and I apologize in advance. So how are you guys doing before we get started?
I'm doing just fine.
I mean, I'm fine. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, you got a long show
Get
today.
some football, ready for the real football. The appetizer football last weekend was nice, but it's not nothing like the real thing, the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess since you called it the appetizer football, let's just go ahead and start there. So we had a really good week of college football. So UGA unfortunately manhandled Clemson on Saturday. I watched most of that game. Alabama demolished Miami, saw that coming from 10,000 miles away. So everybody knows the tide's going to roll. Penn State beat Wisconsin in a classic Big Ten type of game where nobody really scores that much. Oklahoma squeaked by Tulane. Maryland beat West Virginia. Notre Dame beat Florida State in a squeaker in overtime, and Ole Miss rolled over Louisville, and I think we just got word from our news desk that someone else just got ejected for targeting a few minutes ago from that one.
Evan, you skipped one.
Oh, I did? Oh, I Anyway, so
Gee,
Georgia
I
Tech
wonder
lost
which
to
one that
Northern
was.
Illinois. Moving on. That happened.
Poor Yellow Jackets.
So in the AP poll, UJ moved all the way up to number 2, and they deserve it. And Clemson fell to 6. Y'all have any comments on what happened over the weekend in the college slate?
Yeah. Go Terps, baby. Taking care of business, getting that W. Defense looked awesome. Talia Tagovailoa looked pretty strong. Terps receivers look legit. You can make a case they've got maybe the 2 best receivers as far as a duo goes in the entire country, other than maybe Alabama's guys. I mean, they're really good. Raheem Jarrett and Dante Demas are fantastic players. They will both probably be playing on Sundays at some point. So keep an eye out for them, and keep an eye out for the Terps. I mean, I think I said last week, I think this team could bowl, and the fact that they were able to beat, admittedly not a great West Virginia team, but it's still a Power 5 team that regularly beats the crap out of Maryland, and on Saturday they didn't. So
for a few years ago in Baltimore.
Yeah, that game also happened where Maryland just crushed West Virginia up in Baltimore. But
West Virginia has not been West Virginia in about a decade at this point.
They're also the winningest football program to not win a national championship in their history. So, funny. Ever. Yep. No claimed titles, no unclaimed titles, nothing. Zero, zilch, nada.
They should just claim one like UCF did. Just say, we won in whatever year.
Yeah, just pick one of those Steve Slayton years and say, hey, we won the title.
I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to climb up the mountain to try and take it away from them?
You might. Who knows? Nobody really takes it that seriously. But yeah, I watched a little bit of, actually pretty much most of the Georgia-Clemson game, and Georgia's defense was ridiculous, and Clemson's offensive line was terrible. So It'll be interesting to see if Clemson can run the table in the ACC. They should, because it's nothing but squishy opponents. But with that offensive line appearing to be somewhat of a liability, they could have some trouble with some games.
So DJ Uiagalelei just spent a lot of time on his back.
A lot of time on his back. He had his own struggles, but he had no chance with the pass rush that Georgia was getting the entire damn game.
Yeah. So Clemson's got a couple tune-ups in the next couple weeks. They got, I think, 2 home games versus South Carolina State and Georgia Tech. So, they should roll easily in those. Let's see. Also coming up this coming weekend, we've got Big Noon Saturday on Fox with number 12 Oregon and number 3 Ohio State. And then later on Saturday on ABC at 4:30.
My nightmare.
El Asico coming up for Corey.
Which is Iowa and Iowa State.
Yes.
Yeah, Corey's 2 pretend favorite teams going head to head. What's he gonna do?
Where my grandmother and my grandfather went to school. My grandmother graduated from Iowa, and my grandfather graduated from Iowa State.
None of my grandparents graduated from college.
Neither did mine.
Yeah.
So I have some loyalty there, and bummed that one of them is going to drop out of the top 10 after this weekend.
But not enough loyalty to know that this is a rivalry game, and these teams play the second weekend every year. So
no, I know that they do that, but this year it means that one of them is going to fall outside of the top 10 because they're both ranked in the top 10.
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
I know they play every year.
Yeah, it's a trophy game.
Doesn't make it any less of a nightmare for me every year.
Oh,
it's not that big of a nightmare. You probably don't even watch.
Yeah, you're not going to watch.
I usually tune in for a little bit of it.
Yeah, a real struggle for you. I watch a little bit of it, but it haunts my dreams.
I coach on Saturdays in the fall. I can't tune into all the games.
Yeah, that sounds like an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real fans find a way to watch all the games, Corey. College game day is going to be there. So that should be a good one. And then wrapping it up, the big night game is actually Washington at Michigan at 8 o'clock on ABC. So I only put this on here. Neither one of those teams are ranked, but I put this on here because it's going to be fun to see the big house packed full of people under the lights. Should be just fun to watch. Let's see. On to baseball. The Orioles have been playing mediocre ball, approaching below average, which is an incredible improvement over their typicals.
I'm sorry, is mediocre less than below average?
Mediocre typically I associate with average.
That's how I usually associate it. So
yeah, they're getting up there. So since their last show, they did lose a game in Toronto, but they took 2 out of 3 in the Bronx from the Yankees. Corey, what's the deal with that?
Oh my god!
And then they split the first 2 of 4 at home from Kansas City. I'm sure Corey has plenty to say about the Yankees. I need to finish my football awards predictions anyway. So Corey, if you could, when it's time, you could vamp or whatever for a bit.
I'll keep this fairly succinct. I really don't want to ramble on too much this week because the past 2 weeks have been pretty rough for my Yankees. After 2 weeks of just winning every game, we're now 2-8 in the last 10. We've dropped down to 9.5 games back in the AL East, half a game up on Boston, 2.5 on the Jays, who are red hot. I think they're 9-1 over the last 10. Garrett Cole left yesterday's game with hamstring tightness, so that's fantastic. And then you mentioned the 2 out of 3 games that the Orioles took in New York against the Yankees. And in the finale of that series on Sunday, Gary Sanchez hit 2 home runs, one of them a grand slam, drove in 6 runs together, and we lost 8-7.
To the Orioles.
To the Orioles, yes. To the Orioles. To go ahead and clarify, yes, to the Orioles. What the hell? How do you let Gary Sanchez drive in 6 runs and waste it? Do you know how often he does that? He
Never.
doesn't do that. And we wasted it. So, I guess on a brighter note, on that same night, Hudson Valley, which is New York's High A affiliate, batted around twice and slugged 5 home runs, including 2 grand slams in the 9th inning against Greensboro. They scored 14 runs in the 9th inning and won 23-4. And 5 of New York's top 24 prospects were playing in that game. A lot of good that does the Major League Club. On a brighter note, the captain entered the Hall of Fame today.
Yeah, at 11 o'clock Eastern, in the middle of everybody's lunch break.
Right. So I have not been able to. I haven't seen his speech. I haven't seen anything, but
I saw that the hat tip kid was there. His nephew was.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he was sitting there.
Yeah. I'm happy for him. There's always some people on Twitter who like to try and be the hot take guy. Says Derek Jeter doesn't belong in Cooperstown. Are you kidding me? I don't get me wrong. I saw one article that was on the other side defending his defense and talking about they didn't have advanced metrics until later in his career. And of course he was going to be slower at that point. You can still go back to his early days and apply some advanced metrics and see that he was never a great fielder. He was a good fielder at times, but he was never a great fielder. And most of his career, he was average to below average at shortstop as a defender. Offensively, he was pretty much always a really solid contributor. And he was consistent as hell. And he spent 20 years with, the most storied club in Major League Baseball. Get out of here with the BS. He deserves to be in Cooperstown.
Yeah, you just have to look at his numbers and you say, hey, this guy's a Hall of Famer. People would say he's only in because he was a Yankee. Okay, how do you explain the 3,500 hits? Say,
He's all time in hits.
Yeah, I mean, in the 120-year history, effectively, of baseball, if we just start from 1901, and even if you go back further to 1877, number 6 all-time in hits, that guy probably belongs in the Hall of Fame. And the funny thing is, even if you go to the advanced stats, which point out all of Jeter's deficiencies with his defense, and that dates back, and those numbers do exist for the 90s, they just weren't quite as thorough, but you could tell, okay, how many times did the ball go in his zone, and how many times did it result in it out, and it wasn't as high as other shortstops, because he just wasn't as good of a defender. But if you look at, Baseball Reference has a stat called JAWS. I don't know what the hell that acronym stands for, don't ask. But it's basically a metric that they use to judge your Hall of Fame worthiness based off of combining your total career WAR and then taking that as an average against your 7-year peak. So it takes your 7 best years. So that way it balances longevity with how good you were. And for shortstops, Derek Jeter's his 7-year peak is just a tick below the average Hall of Famer, which basically means he's an average Hall of Famer at peak and is a little bit above average in terms of longevity over the course of the entire career. So he's every bit of a Hall of Famer just looking at his peak, because he was like 0.8 WAR below the average, which is minuscule. And just because he's not quite average there, well, there's a reason why they have an average. That's the midpoint.
Right. That means there's Hall of Famers that are better than that. It also means that there are Hall of Famers who are worse than that.
Yes. And so I just looked at that and I was like, dude, I used to look at his numbers all the time back when I started really looking at advanced stats. And I was like, okay, he's a solid Hall of Famer just based off the numbers. And then when you throw in everything else, the championships, the face of baseball stuff, I mean, it's a no-brainer that he would get in, but if you just look at the performance by itself, he is a no-doubt Hall of Famer. So what's the problem?
Yeah. So that's all I've got on the Yankees.
Okay. Well, I guess a little bit on the Orioles. Mike Baumann last night made his major league debut. He pitched 3 2/3 innings, only gave up 1 run of long relief. He qualified for the win. So he's a right-handed pitcher, and we'll see what happens. He's Orioles' number 9 prospect. So there's a positive there. And then Cedric Mullins is closing in on the 30-30 season. So he's I mean he's the one Oriole who's having a really good year, fully deserving of a All-Star start. And then a little update on the schedule. I guess I got two more versus the Royals. One of those games already started as we speak. Got 4 games in 3 days this weekend versus the Blue Jays, and then 3 next week versus the New York Yankees on Tuesday. Starting Tuesday. So
I believe if Mullins does get 30 home runs, he would be the first Oriole to have a 30-30 season. So, and
Wow.
the Orioles have a good history. It's not like the Orioles
Yeah.
have just always been a bunch of bums. They've got their share of great players too. So that's a pretty impressive achievement for him.
So Cal didn't do this, and
Cal-
Brady Anderson didn't do this.
Cal didn't really steal that many bases.
Oh,
He
but
was,
I
he was
mean-
not that. He grounded into a lot of double plays, so
Yeah.
that would indicate that he doesn't steal many bases. Because typically, if you're grounding into double plays, you're not fast.
Yeah, but still, he had a good year once on his way to a Hall of Fame career. But in terms of stolen bases, how did Brady Anderson not do this?
Like the one year he hit 50 home runs, I don't know. Maybe he didn't steal 30 bases that year.
Because he was just
He,
going
too,
all
too,
the way
yeah,
around.
too many of his hits were home runs. He
Yeah.
wasn't actually on the bases
Yeah,
often enough.
you can't steal first, and you can't stay at first if you hit a home run. So there you go. I'm actually gonna look
Are
that
you not
up.
allowed to? Like, could you?
I don't know.
Is it actually against the rules? Like, obviously you would never do it, but could you stay at first after hitting a home run? Just be like, yeah, no, I want to stay here.
I don't.
That'd be the
think
goofiest
that's how
thing
that
I've ever
works.
seen. But at the same time, it feels like, why would you even put that in the rule book?
So Brady Anderson stole 53 bases in 1992. He stole 36 bases in 1999, and he stole 31 bases in 1994. That was the strike season. Those were the only years where he stole more than 30 bases, and obviously his legendary 50 home run season, which is the only year he ever hit more than 30, he only swiped 21 bags that year. So there you go.
Okay, well there you have it. I think that's it. There's no NBA in here. Nothing happened in the NBA. Nobody hates anybody. Nobody's mom on Twitter is saying anything.
All that's still going on. I just didn't.
Oh.
We've already talked about it. It's more Ben Simmons wants a trade stuff. It's more this, that, or the other. It's the same old, same old. It's time for football season. We'll worry about this league drama in the NBA in a few weeks when the season gets ready to get underway.
Okay. Speaking of seasons getting ready to get underway, onto the National Football League.
Woo!
You guys excited?
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm ready. You
The
know how I am.
season's-
I'm always ready.
We've got football tomorrow. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Provided my cable comes back on tomorrow, I will certainly be watching. So we're going to attempt, anyway, to preview the season. I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right into it, unless you all have anything to add before it gets started, with the division winners. So we'll start in the AFC North, my team's division, because I'm hosting. And I've got the Cleveland Browns winning the AFC North.
Okay.
Corey, you got
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens.
Ravens.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Cincinnati Bank. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, what?
No,
He had me for a second. there.
I'm taking the
The
Ravens
Lions
too.
last year.
No Lions. No, I might have to. I wonder if I have any cats. I don't think I have any cats getting to the playoffs this year. But I'm taking the Ravens too.
Okay. What about AFC East? I've got the Buffalo Bills.
Ditto. Taking
Bills.
The Bills.
Yep.
Yeah. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
That's right.
Yeah, I like Buffalo. They got a good thing going up there with McDermott and Josh Allen and that defense. I mean, Stephon Diggs is going to have a great year this year.
Again. Yeah.
The running back situation is still kind of iffy with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. I wouldn't trust either of them for fantasy, but they get the job done well enough to support what Josh Allen is doing through the air.
Yeah, Josh Allen provides enough of a running game by
That's
himself. So
Yeah, he's incredible. I ranked him as my number one quarterback in fantasy. I just went for
I
it.
actually did too. I actually did too. Yeah, just based on because of the running. Because I mean, he does throw plenty, and last year I think that that Diggs proved that he's a good enough deep threat, that they can stretch the field through the air. But then he also adds the running to an extent even beyond what Patrick Mahomes does.
Diggs proved that he was a good enough
Well, we
deep
already
threat.
kind of knew it, but he proved that he could do it within that offense too.
Well, it's a better offense than he had. I mean, it's a bigger arm quarterback.
He's got a big arm quarterback, but he's got less other guys around him to take pressure off of him from the defense.
Yeah, but he's Stephon Diggs, man. He's amazing.
He is.
He's incredibly talented.
He is.
Okay. A division I think is kind of up in the air. AFC South, I picked the Tennessee Titans.
I don't think this is up in the air at all. It's the Titans, clearly, as far as I'm concerned.
I wouldn't completely write off the Colts, but I'm picking the Titans too.
Who is even going to be their quarterback?
Carson Wentz.
But Wentz was
Until he's back.
No, he's
Yo.
starting week 1.
What?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know, but he's starting week 1. That's the thing.
Well, now I have even more reason to write off the
I know,
Colts.
that's the thing. It's weird because like the Colts feel like they should be really good, but Carson Wentz is such a wild card because he was so trash last year that if he does that again, they're definitely not making the playoffs.
They've got a good defense, but I don't trust their offense. And because I don't trust their offense, I find it harder to really trust their defense is going to keep them in games because they're going to be on the field constantly.
They've got good pieces. They've got a good offensive line. They've got a good
decent
running
offensive
game.
line. They've got a good. But beyond that,
Well, so what else do you
who's
need?
their
dude?
top wide receiver? Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman.
You love Paris Campbell last year. You picked him up for no reason. Like you just were like, hey, I want Paris Campbell.
I think I drafted him. I started in week 1, and he was off to a decent start, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
But he's still he's not a wide receiver 1, and neither is Michael Pittman.
I mean, that's okay. You can get by without having elite receivers. If you got a strong running game and Carson Wentz doesn't mess it up, they made the playoffs last year off of that model. I mean, it wasn't like Phillip Rivers was exactly dominant. So, I mean, as long as Carson Wentz doesn't mess it up, which is a big if, because he loves to mess it up, but I think the offense can be good enough even if Carson Wentz just goes out there and plays game manager style football. But I picked the Titans.
yeah. Game manager football would be an upgrade over last year. Like he just
He was awful.
made dumb bad plays, right? Like just check it down, hand it off, maybe go deep every once in a while, but that's it. If you're a Carson Wentz and you're prone to screwing up real bad, just try not to be a negative to the team. Out west, I think it's pretty easy. AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty, wild card number 1. I picked the Ravens because I'm a homer. I do have some concerns, frankly. The schedule's really tough. And then there's, of course, been no shortage of injuries at running back, obviously, with J.K. Dobbins out, and now Justice Hill is out. You got an Achilles just in practice or something. The wide receivers is still an issue. A tale as old as time with the Ravens. The wide receivers either aren't good or aren't healthy or both. Hollywood Brown recently returned to practice. Rashad Bateman's out. Miles Boykin's out. It's a mess. But Ravens wildcard 1. Who do y'all have? Wildcard
My
1.
wildcard 1 is the LA Chargers.
Ooh.
I've got the Cleveland Browns.
I picked the Chargers as wild card 3, thinking that was going to be a hot take, but you out hot took me there, Corey. Ooh, Lordy.
Yeah, go pencil that one down.
Yeah, it's written in pen. I couldn't find my pencil. So, wild card 2, I have the Patriots.
I've got the Browns.
I've got the Miami Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
I was between them and the team I ultimately took for my wild card 3.
Okay. Well, Eric, why do you have the Dolphins? It seems to me that the Dolphins are falling apart.
I mean, I don't know if they're falling apart. They hate Tua, but, Tua's
But they're
gonna,
still playing him.
yeah, they're still playing him, and I think Tua's still going to be pretty good this year, and that was kind of the only missing piece was they didn't have consistency at the quarterback position last year, and they still went 10-6. They had no receivers of note.
Well, they had Devontae Parker, who was pretty solid.
But he
last
was
year.
injured for the
That's
stretch
true.
run of the season, which is why were throwing scrubs out there.
Yeah.
Now
they
they've got
Will Fuller.
They got Will Fuller, who is somebody if he's on the field, which whether he's unhealthy or cheating, he may not be.
He's only
but
got one more game on his suspension.
I know, but he might get caught cheating or get hurt again because that's what Will Fuller apparently does. But they've also got Jalen Waddle. Hopefully Devontae Parker returns to form. They've got
Mike
something.
Gesicki is a pretty solid tight end. Miles Gaskin has been a strong running back, and their defense was surprisingly really good last year. And if anything, it's gotten a little bit better. I think
and they're a well-coached team. I mean, Brian Flores has done a great job with that team since he got there. And I think that if Tua shows any type of improvement, which I expect, they're going to win more games than they did last year, and they won 10 games last year. Yeah. So if they win 11 games out of 17 this year, that should be good enough to make a wild card.
Okay. Wild card 3 already said Chargers. Corey, who you got?
I've got the Steelers.
Wow.
Steelers.
Yeah.
Interesting. The AFC is pretty loaded, though. Like it would not any of the teams that we've mentioned so far wouldn't surprise me if any of them made it. But I actually took the New England Patriots for the third wild card spot.
Yeah, we don't really have any crazy outliers here. Like
nobody's
these
picking
teams,
the Raiders. Like,
yeah, you don't have the Raiders or the the Jags,
the Texans,
Texans. Let's see. So going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, I have the Buffalo Bills.
I believe I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
For the third year in a row. Back to the Super Bowl. Okay. And Eric?
I've got the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Sorry. I know. Sorry. Like, I feel like the Chiefs are gonna get, like, everybody's saying this is the Chiefs' year. Some people are predicting they're gonna go 20-0, which they're not, and I just feel like the Ravens are gonna figure it out this year. So going Baltimore.
Oh my goodness! All right,
I apologize again.
There goes that.
These are not the worst picks. Now, Coach of the Year, if I said Harbaugh, you should be afraid. That's when you start panicking.
Harbaugh for Coach of the Year. He should pack his stuff right now. We'll get to that a little bit later. Switching over to the NFC side, we start in the North again. I have the Green Bay Packers really uncontested winning this division.
Last year, I did not pick the Green Bay Packers, and how foolish I was. I'm taking the Green Bay Packers.
None of us picked them last year.
None of us picked the Packers to go to the playoffs.
We wrote them off completely.
We did not.
We were like, they're dead in the water.
I am not making that mistake again in 2021.
Yeah, Packers. I mean, come on. There's nobody else. The Vikings are a mediocre team. The Bears don't have an offensive line, and they haven't committed to starting Justin Fields yet, so there's no real hope for them, and the Lions are the Lions. So there you go.
The Lions are one playoff game since 1955.
Yes.
Or one playoff win, excuse me.
That's right.
They've playoffs a handful of times in the last 70 years. NFC East, I actually spent some time with this. So I was thinking I was going to go Dallas, and with Dak healthy, they're going to be lighting it up again on offense. Their defense is still garbage, but in today's NFL, it's more important to have a good offense than a good defense. But I ended up going with the Washington football team to win the East in a close one. I mean, their defense is great, and I think their offense will do just enough to win a lot of games, 13-10, the Big Ten style play. So I got Washington, a 9-8 type of division win.
I'm going with the Cowboys.
Ooh.
Dak is healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's going to have the offense moving. I have to believe that Ezekiel Elliott has been carrying a football around with him 24/7 for the past 7 months to try and alleviate some of the fumble issues he had last year. And granted, he's always had a little bit of fumbleitis, but last year was ridiculous.
He was awful.
And we'll get to our player award picks, but my defensive rookie of the year pick is on the Cowboys, so I think that helps the defense at least a little bit. And if the defense is even a tiny bit better than it was last year, the offense can pick up the slack.
Yeah, I've also got that person winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, so we'll get to that a little bit. But I think that it comes down to it was a tough choice because I think that Washington clearly has a more complete roster. Like they've got a much better defense. They've actually got some decent offensive personnel with Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, and Logan Thomas. They got guys that can make plays. It's just going to come down to, is defense enough to overcome not having a good quarterback? And as of right now, I'm not sure that really works in the NFL because it worked last year because nobody in the division had a good quarterback. Like the Cowboys lost Dak early in the season. The Eagles had Carson Wentz, whatever was going on with him. And then later Jalen Hurts, who had one good game and then turned into Jalen Hurts. And then he eventually got benched because the Eagles weirdly just quit in the middle of a key game on Sunday Night Football and just handed Washington a playoff spot, which was, thank you, but kind of weird. And, of course, I don't trust Daniel Jones. Giants' offensive line is a trash heap. Their defense still stinks. So it's basically Washington's defense or Dak. And I'm always going to lean towards the team with a good quarterback. Dak's a good quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick's not. So I went with the Cowboys.
All right. So I am on the island, even though y'all are Washington fans.
Maybe it's because we're being anti-homers.
You're also on the island with the AFC North pick, even though
it's the anti-homerism thing. Like you pick.
Actually, no. I'm sorry. I'm on the island. I was the only one who picked Baltimore to win the division.
No, I picked him to win the division too.
Okay, yeah. So Evan's also on the island there, even though he's a Ravens fan.
You didn't pick your team, and then we didn't pick our team. So
we're all on equal footing.
Yeah, we are all anti-homers.
I think the Browns are legit. Right.
I think they're legit too, but I like the Ravens just a little bit more.
Okay. I mean, it's gonna. I think both of the games between the Ravens and the Browns are on prime time.
They should be because I want to see those.
Yeah. NFC South. What'd you say?
Oh, I'm done. You can keep going.
Oh, I heard something. NFC South. I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like the Packers, uncontested. Just run away with it.
Yeah, give me TB12. Is he still number 12? I'm assuming he kept his number since he keeps complaining about everybody else changing theirs.
He's so pissy about this. Like, you've never seen Tom Brady complain about anything for more than like 5 minutes. But then, like
this has been all
especially
summer.
Publicly, like with a microphone in his face. It's one thing on the field when you're pissed about a bad call and you rant at the ref for a couple minutes before the next snap. Now this is like months in the making of him just being really upset about this.
And look. I get it because I know that for the first few weeks
it's going
to be very weird. I'm going to be confused. I'm not going to know who anybody is because all their numbers are jumbled up and everything.
Matthew Judon was wearing number 9. Like, what is this? I mean, come on.
I really enjoyed, there was a meme I saw or something I saw on Twitter that was talking about like Tom Brady, supposedly the smartest player in NFL history, and yet numbers are too complicated for him.
Can't remember everybody's
numbers confuse him. Apparently, we finally discovered his kryptonite after 20 years.
We finally found something for him to sound like an old man, who's been playing in the NFL for 20 years. Because like one of the most notable things about Tom Brady is the fact that this is a 44-year-old dude who somehow his 25-year-old teammates all like him, which is bizarre because there's such a generation gap there. You would think that this well-to-do 44-year-old rich white guy with a supermodel wife would not be able to connect with young black players in an NFL locker room, and yet they all love him. So he clearly is able to do something, but then here he just sounds like grandpa, get off my lawn type of stuff. And I'm just like, it's just such a bizarre turn, and it's over something so minor. Anyway, I got the Bucs winning the division.
Okay. I learned how to spell Buccaneers. So
you see,
you've been spelling it all last year.
Yeah, well, I memorized it now. Yes. NFC West. This might be the toughest division in all of football. I have got the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe I'm too, maybe I'm like the Mets we felt back in March and April. They spent all this money and did all this flashy stuff and made trades. We don't know necessarily if it's going to work. I bought in. I got the Rams.
This got a lot easier once Matt Stafford became their quarterback. I've got the LA Rams.
I've got the San Francisco 49ers winning this division.
Ooh.
I don't think that Matt Stafford is as additive as people want to pretend. He had plenty of opportunities in Detroit. People want to say, oh, well, he had a terrible franchise with him. Okay, but elite quarterbacks lift bad franchises and make them into good ones, and Matt Stafford's not an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback.
This isn't a bad franchise. The Rams are a decent team right now.
That doesn't mean I think they're going to win the division in probably the best division in all of football. I mean, that's what it's going to take. Like I'll get to the Rams a little later. I haven't completely left them out of the mix, but I think that they're just a step behind San Francisco.
But I mean, for Matthew Stafford though, like he lifted the Lions out of 60 years of suckitude to mediocrity, right? That's a big jump to go from the bottom to mediocre. It's the same distance from mediocre to good, right? Like they were below the 50 feet of crap in Moneyball.
Yes, like, I've seen. Yes, I understand your reference and I appreciate it.
So yeah, so like I'd say he did pretty good to take them to the playoffs twice.
Yeah, pretty good because he's a pretty good quarterback. I'm not going to say that he did something earth-shattering. I mean, he had Calvin Johnson for most of his career.
He took the Lions to the playoffs. That's earth-shattering.
He's a good quarterback. The main reason why they couldn't get to the playoffs is because they didn't have a good quarterback. They're running John Kitna and Dan Orlovsky out of the back of the end zone. I mean, that's why they didn't make the playoffs. I'm not going to give Matt Stafford credit for showing up as a number 1 overall pick and turning a franchise from crap to less crap, because that's all he really did. I mean, he had maybe the best receiver of this last generation, and yet his numbers were never even MVP worthy. Like, why am I going to get a ton of credit to Matt Stafford, who's made 1 Pro Bowl, who's only ever led the league in one thing, and that was pass attempts once? I mean, he's good. He's a good player, and I'm glad that he's getting a better opportunity, but I'm not going to pretend just because, oh, boo-hoo, he played for a crappy team, that just suddenly means that he's great. He's okay. Pretty good. Top 10 maybe, but no further than that.
Okay.
Just got a ton of stream of tweets as the thing was buzzing on my phone, which was tucked underneath my ass. So that felt great. Thank you for that, Corey.
What the hell?
Yeah, my phone was between my legs and just buzz, 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 buzz 4 straight times because we've got all these tweets going out letting people know we're talking about football. So,
well, you're welcome.
Could you put that down as the title, whatever that was? Just put it down. I'm not at my computer. I can't I have no internet.
I don't even know what he just said. That
yeah. Just put this time down and we'll figure it out in post. On the wild card 1, I've got the 49ers for all the reasons Eric just said about the 49ers. They're really good. And I mean this division is loaded. I will say though, maybe I should have put the 49ers for the division because the 49ers finished in last place in their division last year, so they get a last place schedule. So they get 3 additional cupcakes that the Rams and Seahawks won't get. And the 49ers have a good team that was just decimated with injuries last year. So I really like the 49ers. If they could figure out what they're supposed to be doing at quarterback, right? I heard they were running 2 quarterbacks at the same time. Just
you talk about Matt Stafford not being that additive. Trey Lance is not additive at all.
Yeah.
But the 49ers, when they were healthy, were a lot better than whatever the
49ers
Rams
haven't been
were.
healthy in 5 years.
They went to the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago.
And they were injured the whole time. They were injured all season that year, too. I don't even know how they made it to the Super Bowl, to be quite honest.
You don't? Because that team was awesome. Were you just not watching NFC football in 2019? That team was amazing.
The defense was awesome.
Their run game was amazing, too. Raheem Mostert, his entire career is dedicated to the 49ers.
Well, that was part of the reason that they managed to win some games because they have 4 really good running backs who all run like
And they still do.
240s.
They still do. They still got a lot of speed guys.
The 49ers cruised through those playoffs. They crushed the Vikings in the division round, and then they crushed the Packers in the NFC
Yeah,
Championship
but
game.
you look at that team on paper, and it doesn't make sense. Like, you see them play, and they played well, but you put them on
They
paper.
were the 1 seed.
That team was dominant.
Yeah.
They were 7 minutes away from winning the Super Bowl. I mean, that was a great team.
I've got the New Orleans Saints as my first wild card.
Saints.
First wild card. Oof. I've got the Rams as wild card 1.
All right, wild card 2. I picked the Seattle Seahawks. I'm not a believer in them, to be honest. I'm not, but I guess they're wild card 2. They did win their division last year. They are a good team. I don't know if they're. I don't consider the Seahawks Super Bowl contenders, but contenders to make the playoffs certainly. I don't know about winning the NFC though.
I went back and forth between them and San Francisco, and ultimately went with San Francisco because I just don't trust Seattle's defense.
Yeah, Legion of Boom, long gone. Eric, what about you, wild card 2?
I got the Seahawks as well. I agree, because every time I was, like, even this week, I was looking at the game picks, and I was looking at the Seahawks, and I'm like, man, they're not that good, but they've got Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson seems to always find a way to win 2 or 3 more games than the Seahawks have any business winning, just by being individually great. And that's enough to take an 8-9 team and turn them into an 11-6 team, which is a playoff team.
Yeah. Okay, and then finally, wild card number 3. I picked the New Orleans Saints. I think Jameis is maybe not going to have a 30 for 30 season, but a 30 for 25 season. I don't know. He's going to be less terrible than he was his last year in Tampa Bay. He's going to be good enough to get it done. The Saints defense is pretty good. Maybe not great, but good enough. So I feel like the NFC was a little weaker than I thought it was. Like I couldn't really find a team that really deserved this spot. I wasn't feeling, for example, the Bears or the Cardinals or the Cowboys or anybody like that. So I don't want to say by default, but I like the Saints the best out of the next tier of teams.
My third wild card is the team.
What?
The Washington football team.
How?
So I still think that they're a solid team. I think Dallas is better, but I think Washington is still wild card worthy.
So you said you had the Saints, the Seahawks, or the 49ers
and Washington as my wild cards.
All right.
One of these things is not like the others.
I've got the New Orleans Saints as the third wild card, sort of in the same boat. It's funny because the NFC, just even a couple of years ago, was like the conference that had like 9 or 10 good teams, whereas the AFC just had like 3 or 4 really good ones. But, the teams that were consistently in that pretty good could potentially make a run to a conference championship, like the Vikings, like the Eagles, like the Seahawks even. Those teams have completely fallen off a cliff. They're just kind of mediocre to bad now and non-credible playoff threats. And you can throw the Bears in there too. And I just felt like the Saints still have the core of a good team. They won the division last year despite competing against a team that went on to win the Super Bowl and having Drew Brees be 40 years old and get hurt. So they had to deal with the Taysom Hill experience and still managed to scrape out 3 wins with that guy playing starting quarterback. So it just seems like Jameis Winston is clearly better than Taysom Hill. He has potential to be a Pro Bowl level quarterback. He's the number 1 overall pick. He's shown that he's got talent. It's just a matter of reining in the turnovers, and you're never going to completely get rid of them, but all you have to do with the Saints is manage them a little bit, and the team's going to be effective. If you remember back in the day, Drew Brees used to throw a lot of picks too. Not to the rate that Jameis Winston did, but he would throw 14, 15, 16 interceptions a year too. He had a little bit of a gunslinger mentality, but it was managed to the point where the Saints were still able to be a dynamic offense despite turning the ball over a little bit more frequently than some of the other offenses like the Packers or the Patriots.
Okay. Who wins the NFC? I've got Tampa Bay going back to the Super Bowl.
I've got Tampa Bay going back to the Super Bowl.
I've got Tampa Bay going back to the Super Bowl.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, boring. I know.
We each had a different team in the AFC.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not pick Tampa though? They're the only team to win the Super Bowl and return all 22 starters. Like, that's insane.
They won the Super Bowl in their own building. I guess it's time for them to play the Super Bowl in somebody else's building.
Yeah, I mean, I just... Plus, again, they had to do it on the road, too. They had to go to New Orleans. They had to go to Washington, whatever. And then they had to go to Green Bay. This year, it seems more likely they're going to be hosting those playoff games. And, frankly, Tom Brady could be better this year than he was last year. I mean, last year he was apparently dealing with a knee injury, and...
It was also his first year with Tampa Bay in a year where they didn't really get an offseason.
That's true. And one of the things that I noticed about Brady last year, and I think you guys did too, is he looked mostly the same except for he seemed to be hesitant to step into contact, which is something that I kind of attributed to the fact that he was 43. But it could very well be he was playing on a torn MCL or whatever, and so maybe if he's healthy this year, maybe he's even better because he's not doing that, because it was those specific plays that led to some of those errant throws that led to picks. So if those go away, then we're all screwed and Tampa's winning the Super Bowl. I mean, what can you say?
I mean, is he going to remember how many downs there are? Because
it didn't matter. They still won the Super Bowl. The dude was senile out there, and they still won the Super Bowl.
Now he's even older.
And seemingly still senile because he's whining about numbers. But they're still going to win the Super Bowl, apparently.
Yeah. I don't have the Bucs winning. I have the Buffalo Bills getting their first ever Super Bowl championship.
About time for them. I've got the Chiefs getting their revenge after last year.
Fortified offensive line. Not going to have Patrick Mahomes running for his life all game.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. I got the Bucs. Like, sorry, Ravens. You should be happy I put you in the Super Bowl, although Evan is not because he thinks I'm going to curse them and they're going to stink.
Well, by picking against them, maybe that actually undoes that curse.
Give them some juju and yeah. So yeah, I'm picking the Bucs over the Ravens. Let's do that.
Okay. Let's see. So those are our division winners, wild cards, Super Bowl teams, and Super Bowl champion. On to the awards predictions. I have Aaron Rodgers winning the MVP. I feel like the guy is on, he's the type of guy who's motivated by spite and revenge and I'll show you type of stuff. The giant, passive aggressive kerfuffle that was this offseason in Green Bay. I think Rodgers is going to show everybody in Green Bay that, they'll really appreciate him once he's gone. So I think Rodgers wins MVP again. He's not a young man either. But I got Rodgers for the MVP. Corey, how about you?
I would love to see it, but I've got Patrick Mahomes, hon.
Okay. And Eric?
It was so easy to pick Patrick Mahomes, so I decided to go a little off the wall. I've got Dak Prescott winning MVP this year.
Dak Prescott?
Yeah, he's going to put up big numbers and carry that crappy Cowboys team to a playoff, and he's coming off an injury. He'll get the narrative award. Yeah, go Dak.
That's probably who I should have picked for comeback player of the year then.
You there, Evan?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Offensive player of the year. I always struggle with offensive player of the year and differentiating it between that and MVP. It seems like they're the same thing. Just kind of the way MVP is handed out. I picked Matthew Stafford. He's going to put up a lot of numbers. might not be as MVP worthy. He's going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to score a lot of points. But maybe it's just going to be in a less a sexy way as Eric Rodgers will do it. I don't know, man. So Matthew Stafford, offensive player of the year for me.
So a couple years ago when Jameis Winston went 30 for 30, he didn't have anybody in the backfield to take the pressure off. He didn't have a run game. He didn't have somebody to dump it off out of the backfield on a consistent basis. He's got that now, which is part of the reason why the Saints are going to be so good this year and why Jameis is going to be a lot more in control of things. So I've got Alvin Kamara as my offensive player of the year. He's going to be lights out this year, as he always is. And
Okay.
the look Eric has on his face suggests that I stole his.
Yeah, you stole my thunder a bit. I'm picking Kamara too, especially given the fact that the Saints just cut Latavius Murray. So, like, the reason why Alvin Kamara hasn't been a first-team All-Pro in his career is pretty much because he doesn't have the same volume that guys like Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey
He had
get.
to deal with Mark Ingram for
Yeah,
the first 2 or 3 years, and he's had Latavius Murray since then.
Yeah, the Saints have had reliable second backs so that Kamara didn't have to get as many touches, which is probably a good thing for his longevity. But this year, it seems like that's not going to be the case. I feel like he's going to be relied upon to carry that offense to an even greater degree because it's a new quarterback, because Michael Thomas is out for an extended period, and now because he doesn't have a compatriot in the backfield that's reliable, he's going to be the workhorse consistently, and you could see him putting up all-purpose yards like approaching 2,400 this year, and we know he's a touchdown machine, so we could be seeing something historic from him this year, assuming, God willing, he stays healthy and the Saints don't completely fall apart on the offensive line, so I'm picking him.
Okay. I think that's a solid choice. Defensive player of the year. I picked Aaron Donald again. It just seems too easy, but he keeps winning it. So, he just devours offensive linemen. Like, that's just what he does.
I wrote down Aaron Donald, and then I was like, everybody's going to take him. Understandably so. I'm going way off the cuff with Derwin James.
Ooh, nice.
Is he going to stay on the field?
I hope so, because
Yeah.
otherwise
He's
this is
not
not
gonna
going to
win.
happen. But if he does, I mean,
Games
I
last
think
2
that
years.
I think that he'll be in that conversation.
Well, he was tremendous as a rookie with that Chargers defense, but the injuries have really set him and that team back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big part of the reason why the Chargers couldn't get off the ground in 2019 or 2020 is their defense just wasn't reliable, especially in the secondary, and he's that difference maker. So I think that's definitely an interesting choice, and I hope it works out because I love watching that guy play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I picked Aaron Donald.
Oh.
I mean, this is when I felt bad because like some of them I was trying to go off the cuff, like I could try to justify Dak Prescott, even though I know that's kind of a long shot. And Alvin Kamara, I thought was a little bit of an interesting pick. Of course, Corey and I both love Alvin Kamara, so I'm not really all that surprised that Corey did it. I was like, yeah, Corey's probably gonna do that too. But Aaron Donald's just it seems foolish to pick against him just because every year you're expecting somebody else to get it just because it's somebody else, and they just want to give the award to somebody else. But then Aaron Donald is just that dominant. He controls games. The Rams are going to be really good. They're going to make the playoffs in all likelihood, and he's going to be a big part of the reason why. So I just figured if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I mean Aaron Donald. Like you said, they try to give it to somebody else, but then the voters realize he's just better than everybody else.
Yeah, by week 12, people look up and say, wow, a defensive tackle is chasing the league in sacks again, and he wins all of his matchups even though 75% of them are double teams. It's just like,
Yeah, and the rest are triple teams.
yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, he just blows up entire offensive lines by himself. We've never really seen anything like that from a defensive tackle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was watching the Rams-Seahawks game one time, and the Seahawks quadruple teamed him somehow. And he was still in the backfield, right? Like, they tried to block him with guard, center, guard. He was still in the quarterback's lap. They used the running back to chip on the way out, and it still didn't work.
One of my,
How is this possible?
one
for
of my
one guy?
favorite things about Aaron Donald isn't just the fact that, obviously physically he's incredible with his strength and his speed and his agility and things like that, but he's also so smart with how he operates. Like, he knows how to push offensive linemen into other offensive linemen to knock them both out of the play, and then knock some other dude out of the play, and then go throw the quarterback on his ass. Like, it's just, he's systematic with how he decimates entire squads of football teams.
Mm-hmm. Okay. On to offensive rookie of the year. Usually for these rookies of the year, I just go down the first round of the draft and be like, who's going to have the best year out of these guys? I didn't have to scroll very far. I picked Zach Wilson of the New York Jets. I think he's going to be a good player. I'm also a guy who's still convinced Josh Rosen's going to be a good player in the NFL, who just got screwed over one too many times. But I think Josh Wilson's going to have a good year. The Jets are bad, but he's going to light
Zach
it up.
Wilson.
What'd you say?
That's Zach Wilson. You said Josh Wilson.
I said Josh. I was talking about Josh Rosen.
I know you were. You said Josh Wilson.
Oh, my goodness. Josh Wilson.
Like, cornerback from Maryland who was not very good in the NFL.
He played for the Ravens. Roddy White pushed him down in 2010. That's pass interference.
I was watching that Thursday night game at the Stamp Student Union, and there was this obnoxious Falcons fan who was going crazy, and I was just sitting there just being pissed.
Oh, well then you'll know how I feel.
Yes.
Living in Atlanta at the time with lots of obnoxious Falcons fans. These people. Oh my goodness. I still don't like Roddy White to this day. That was pass interference, and the refs swallowed the whistle. Zach Wilson, offensive rookie of the year for me.
Mine is going to require that a certain coach come to his senses and stop being an idiot. I'm picking Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't trust Matt Nagy to do that, so I couldn't pick him because I'm pretty sure that he's not going to start maybe until week 4 or 5, and plus the Bears' offensive line is bad.
Honestly, I think if he starts week 4 or 5, it'll still be enough for him to do what he needs to do to win this. I think he's going to be that good.
Did Baker win offensive rookie of the year in 2018?
No, he lost to Saquon.
Oh, okay.
So I went with Mac Jones because Mac Jones is the only... Yeah, he's the only quarterback that got drafted in the first round that has a good team around him. Like, the Bears' offensive line stinks, so that means that when Justin Fields gets on the field, he's going to be running for his life. Wait,
I thought you said the 49ers were a good team around Trey Lance.
Trey Lance isn't going to play.
He's not going to play well.
He's not going to play at all. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to play until he gets hurt, which could be week 2, but it's going to be the Jimmy Garoppolo
Lance
show.
is starting.
No, Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback.
See, this is why you tell us, Kyle Shanahan, instead of saying, "Oh, I think you guys can figure it out."
Well,
he
what kind
can't
of BS is that?
Right? Like, he doesn't even know.
okay, so apparently I'm breaking news here that Jimmy Garoppolo is starting week 1 for the 49ers. But yeah, I had apprehension about picking Trey Lance, especially because he's also a quarterback that I think is a little bit raw. He's got a little ways to go before he's ready to be the guy. And Mac Jones, again, he's got a good coach, obviously. The Patriots have done a good job fortifying that offensive line. They've added some tight end options. They've got a decent enough running attack. Their defense is probably going to be pretty good. I've picked them to make the playoffs. My concern about Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence is they play on bad teams. And specifically Zach Wilson, he plays in a division with 3 really tough defenses. I mean, the Bills are going to get after you. The Dolphins' defense is great, and Bill Belichick's defense is feast on rookie quarterbacks. So I just think that he's going to have more growing pains compared to Mac Jones, who is probably a little bit more on easy street because he's got an infrastructure around him that comes with being the 15th overall pick rather than the 2nd overall pick.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, Mac Jones got to play 2 of those defenses as well.
Still got a better team and a better coach to help him get ready for those games.
Who is Mac Jones throwing the ball to exactly?
He's got Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry and Nelson Aguilar.
Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, problem solved.
I mean, he can throw it to Nelson Aguilar, but he can't throw it and catch it too. right?
Well, Nelson Aguilar had a nice season last year. Let's back off with the hate.
Since when did we do that?
We never do that, but I'm going to ask for a moratorium on Nelson Aguilar hate until this podcast is over.
Oh, okay. So in a few minutes then. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Again, I looked up and down the first round, and I heard on the radio this afternoon, I think they said 18 of the last 20 defensive rookies of the year have been defensive end rusher types. I didn't see one of those that really jumped out to me, so I picked cornerback for the Broncos, Patrick Surtain II. He was incredible at Alabama last year. Obviously, he's the son of Patrick Surtain, who played in the NFL for a long time years ago. We're old and remember him. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a key member of that Denver defense. Denver's defense is pretty good. It's just they haven't. Drew Lock's been a disappointment, and they're going with Teddy Two Gloves now. But they have a defensive coach and a defensive-minded coach as well. That's the only thing he thinks about out there.
He's Butch Jones of the NFL, man. He's clueless on the sidelines.
Yeah, he's just standing there looking. So, yeah, I've got Patrick Surtain II.
Why is he Teddy Two Gloves? Is that actually a nickname for him?
I thought it was. Yeah, he wears two gloves.
Yeah, he
right.
wears two gloves.
Throwing
and on throwing.
But I didn't actually even know that was something people associated with.
I've heard it occasionally.
Okay.
So
cool, good to know. I just never heard that before.
My defensive rookie of the year is Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys linebacker.
Okay.
I stole Eric's thunder on Kamara, so I don't know if
I already found out that you stole my thunder on this one, and I didn't care about this one because he's the betting favorite. Micah Parsons is my pick too. But Evan, if you're looking for a defensive end to look out for that could rack up some sacks, Kwity Paye of the Colts is going to have some opportunities to get after the quarterback. And I was interested in picking him just because it feels like guys that get sacks win this award. Chase Young won it last year, and Chase Young is great. But
he didn't get all that many sacks.
But he didn't really get that many sacks.
He played on such a great defensive line.
And he was also probably the best player on that defensive line, despite, maybe not having huge sack numbers. But
that's probably why he didn't have the huge sack numbers.
But he was such a difference maker, and he had so many highlight plays where he crushed Joe Burrow for that fumble on the goal line.
Good Lord.
He had that awesome fumble return late in the season. He showed incredible athleticism, but typically it's the gaudy sack numbers that get this award. So Kwity Paye could be that guy, but I went with Micah Parsons because I think Parsons is the best defender overall in this draft. Apologies to Patrick Surtain, who I think is great. And he also plays for the Dallas Cowboys, who suck on defense. So anytime he does anything, it's going to stand out. He's going to flash on every play because he's the only guy that's going to be a difference maker. And it might just be enough to get the Cowboys into the playoffs, which means he's going to get the award. It's like Leighton Vander Esch and Sean Lee, like guys that we pretend were amazing when they were just pretty good because they were the Cowboys linebackers. So Micah Parsons has potential to actually be really, really good, and he gets to play for the Cowboys and potentially make a difference on a playoff team. They're going to give it to him.
Yeah, that's a good pick as well. On the comeback player of the year, admittedly, I put this together last minute and had a bit of an oversight on the guy who seems to be the obvious choice for comeback player of the year. As there's a bias towards quarterbacks, but I picked Saquon Barkley. He's going to get the ball a lot. It'd be good. Hopefully, he stays healthy. He hasn't really done that a whole lot. Oh, these Orioles, man! What is happening? Just stop throwing the ball away. So Saquon for me.
I don't know if this guy played too many games to qualify, but I'm going Christian McCaffrey.
Oh,
he missed most of last season.
Duh. How'd I miss him too?
Well, there was a lot of guys. You could go Nick Bosa too. Like there's all kinds of guys, but the obvious choice is Dak Prescott. He shattered his ankle, and everybody saw it, and it was in a nationally televised game. It was the 425 game on CBS. So, we all saw it happen. It had a huge impact on the season. Dak is probably the biggest star among those players They got injured.
I guess.
And, the Hard Knocks thing is probably going to work in his favor. We've all kind of followed some of Dak's return to prominence. And it was such a big deal when he got hurt. I think it's going to be... This seems like a quarterback award, too. Like, unless there's not a quarterback qualified for it, it usually goes to a quarterback that suffered a serious injury and came back and played well. So I'm picking Dak.
Okay. Oh boy, Coach of the Year.
Who's getting fired this year, baby?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been a bit of a running joke on this show and in our group text about a guy who Eric picks as Coach of the Year ends up getting fired after he picked Freddie Kitchens, and Freddie Kitchens had already been fired by the time we reviewed the picks at the end of the year. So, Eric, we'll save you till the end. Coach of the Year for me is Brandon Staley, who I had to look up who he even was. He is the coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, their new coach, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's going to have them knowing what to do on fourth down. He's going to have them executing changes in terms of kicking versus not kicking and stuff like that, because their old coach couldn't figure that out.
Is he going to help them block to make sure nobody blocks the punts?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to know when to call timeout. He's going to make sure the starting quarterback doesn't get stabbed by the trainer. All this type of stuff, the basic stuff. Hopefully he's got that down. So, Brandon Staley, Coach of the Year for me.
I'm going with Tennessee Titans coach Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel.
He has led the team to 2 straight 9-7 seasons, but they made it to the AFC Championship last year, and I think this year they break up over the 10-win mark, probably get up to closer to 11 wins. I'd say 12 is probably their ceiling, but I've got them getting 11 wins this year. And after the last couple of years, the success that they've had with him, I think another year, this will be the year that he gets it.
Okay. And Eric, who needs to start looking over their shoulder and packing their stuff?
This only works if Eric actually picks a coach that he legitimately thinks will win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and so
it also worked for Scott Brooks, who Eric jokingly said
that's true.
That was amazing.
Fired an hour later.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, especially because all I'd heard was that Scott Brooks was returning for the previous couple weeks, and
then within an hour,
yeah, I even tweeted whatever when I saw somebody tweet about that, and Evan liked that tweet because he knew that I was pissed that Scott Brooks was returning, and then I joked that he was going to be Coach of the Year for the 2022 season, and then he's gone.
That is true.
So the other coach that I got fired was Stan Van Gundy, who notably was only there for a year, so he was a coach for a year selection for me. So I tried to keep in mind, or I tried not to keep in mind, I should say, the fact that I seem to do this. So I didn't want that to bias my selection because I didn't want to get somebody I like fired. So I was like, you know what, whatever. It's not real. Curses aren't real, I hope. I picked Sean Payton, my team's coach.
Oh, God.
Yes. So if he gets fired...
Evan, is it too late for me to change my wild card pick?
Yeah, he's toast. The reason I picked Sean Payton was because I feel like making the playoffs is kind of a prerequisite for this award. And there's something to be said about being a surprise team, but there just aren't that many teams, I think, that are going to surprise and make the playoffs. I didn't pick the Chargers to make it. If I had, I probably would have picked Staley. But I think the Saints could be a quote-unquote surprise team because the media votes on this award, and the media hates Jameis Winston. They hate him. And so naturally they think of him as being the worst quarterback in the history of football, when in reality he's been a pretty good quarterback for most of his career, except for that one year that he threw 30 picks where he was even still above replacement level because of all the other good stuff he did. It's just the bad stuff was so horrible that they couldn't get to the playoffs. I think that if Sean Payton is the guy that successfully rehabilitates Jameis Winston into a viable quarterback that can lead a team to the playoffs, the writers are going to fall all over themselves not to give Jameis the credit, so they got to give it to the coach. So they're going to give it to Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Sean Payton, we wish you the best of luck this year.
And
I
in
do
your
too.
future endeavors.
Yes, so update that resume.
Your endeavors.
He could go back to Dallas. There's, like, every year there's a rumor that Sean Payton's going to leave New Orleans to go to Dallas. And when Mike McCarthy gets himself fired this year for being Mike McCarthy, there's going to be an opening. Jerry Jones is going to have a franchise quarterback, franchise running back, a whole bunch of receivers. Could happen. Just saying.
I mean, the spot that's coming up in my mind as being available is the Chicago Bears in 2022.
Yeah.
Like I think that could happen as well.
Do you see any coach for a year scenarios?
I had to look up who Brandon Staley was. I can't even think of other guys who are new this year. Nick Sirianni. That guy.
Yeah.
The Eagles, a dumpster fire.
I could see that.
Time.
I could see Urban Meyer just because he's
Yep.
Urban Meyer and he's radioactive and he finds a way.
What about Campbell
Man Campbell?
in Detroit?
I think
You think he'll make it?
I think he'll stick just because there's the expectations are so low that they really can't justify firing him.
Right. And he's a psycho, right? Are you going to tell him he's fired? You want to volunteer for that?
I tell you, I'm rooting for Man Campbell though, man. He's such an entertaining figure because of how ridiculous he is that I kind of want to see him stick around for a little while. He's fun.
I'm so conflicted with him. Like, I don't know if I love him or if I absolutely hate him.
That's how you should feel, but that tells you that you should stick around until you find out.
Yeah.
I never find out.
You know,
Then he stays till you find out, which could be forever.
yeah, the NFL's an entertainment product.
Could you
Right?
imagine if like Man Campbell somehow like turned the Lions into a dynasty, and then Corey just has to
I don't think
deal
I
with
could handle that.
he just has to deal with the ambivalence of this coach who somehow turned the trash franchise of the NFC into a Super Bowl team, and he's in like 30 years he's gonna be putting on a gold jacket and we're gonna be old geezers, and Corey's still gonna be sitting there saying, I don't know how to feel about this guy.
Oh boy. Yeah. I think Dan Campbell might be good. He might be. I have him higher in my power rankings than Nick Sirianni, the Eagles coach.
Nick Sirianni just at least Man Campbell has some confidence and some gravitas. Nick Sirianni just felt like he felt like a guy who took a vacation during hiring season because he didn't think he would get any calls. Because he did. That happened. And then his first press conference was like, okay, I'm glad I got this job, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
What was it that he said? He said something about like we're gonna have better plays than the other team, or something like. It was
generic-
so.
And he was fumbling
Oh my
the whole
God.
time. He looked like a middle schooler having to give a speech and just was completely out of his depth at that point. Maybe it'll get better. He also said some weird crap about how he's so competitive that he challenges players to rock, paper, scissors during training camp on random occasions. I'm like,
Cool.
that's some Sean Fogo stuff right there, man. That's just weird and ineffective coaching. I don't dig that as somebody who had to deal with that type of stuff. I'm not a fan.
Just
God.
what? Okay, let me. Oh, I'm on my phone. I can't look at the Skype and the. We've got a lot of stuff still to get to.
Yeah, we got the games.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
gotta eliminate teams from the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we could eliminate teams from the playoffs now. Could one of y'all explain this? Because I don't fully understand how it's going to work.
Okay,
Yeah.
so since it was my idea, I guess I'll explain it. So for this week, we're each going to pick a team. It has to be a different team. We can't pick the same team. And so the order of precedence, who gets to pick first, is going to be based off of who won the pick'em last year for the confidence points, which I believe was you, Evan, and I think I came in second.
Yes.
So it'll go you, then me, then Corey for this week, and then after, like when we pick week 2's games next week on the podcast, it'll be in order of how we placed for week 1's picks. So if I have the best week, I'll pick first. If Corey has the second best week, he'll pick second. You know, based on how that goes, and that's how we'll do it from week to week going forward.
But every week we have to eliminate a team from the playoffs who we think is not going to make it. And again, we can't pick the same team in the same week. So
Yeah,
it's
and
going to
so-
be 3 different teams each week. Now, it could potentially be that over the course of the first 3 weeks
We all pick the
that
same
we all
three
pick the same
teams,
3
just in a
teams,
different order. Yeah.
but
Okay, that's
it's going to be a different order. and then in week 4 it'll be different again.
Like, no, it doesn't have to be, oh, Corey picked this team so I can literally never pick them, because then we'd run out of teams by week 5.
I think we're already going to run out of teams like week 16.
No, there's 14 playoff teams, and so we're picking before week 1, and then so
that leaves 16 teams to be wait, 16 teams to be eliminated?
18 teams. Yeah, it works out perfectly. The math is perfect.
Why can I not do simple math when I'm on the show, but I can do it any other time of day?
Hey, I'll never forget at Sean's bachelor party when Ryan kept saying, "Wow, you're really good at that mental math stuff, Corey," and I was like, that's funny because he actually struggles all the time when he's around Evan, but Evan's not here, so maybe that's
what it is. I blame you, Evan. It's your fault.
You blame me?
Yes.
Much pressure on you to use your fingers and toes to count stuff?
Well, you always roast him instantly when he makes a mistake. So, but anyway, it works out perfectly because you can treat this as week 0, and then we can pick week 17. There's 18 weeks, so as we're heading into the final week, we will have made our final selections, and we'll see how it falls.
Yes.
Okay. So since I have the luxury of picking first, just despite one of the games we're going to talk about for some reason, I'm picking the Texans not to make the playoffs. Pretty easy one. Their quarterback has only 22 sexual misconduct charges against him, so don't need to worry about him playing. They've sent all the good players away around the league. They have a rookie coach as well. It's a mess, but they're going to do the best they can, but they're not going to win very many games.
Okay, since I'm second up, for the record, I would have picked the Texans because, of course, I would have. I think Corey would have too. Easy choice, but still a pretty easy second choice.
I fully expected they would be off the board by the time I got there with my third pick.
So pretty easy second choice. I'm taking the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're bad, and they went from having a good quarterback on a bad team to having a kind of mediocre quarterback who we don't really even know if he can function without a great offense and a great coach, because the one time we saw him with a mediocre offense and a not-so-great coach, he might have been the worst quarterback ever. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah. Woo. He was the worst quarterback. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Well, in that case, I will go ahead and eliminate the Eagles because I actually think that somehow the Giants are not going to be last place in the division. I think they'll be third in the division, which is still not good. But the Eagles, they're not going to be in the postseason. Kidding me?
There's no way. They're pretty stinky.
There's zero chance. None chance.
Okay. There we go.
Okay.
Is somebody writing this down?
I put him in here.
Corey's got it. All right, cool.
Okay. Alrighty. So I think that wraps up our NFL discussion before we get to our game picks. Unless y'all have anything to add, let's get to it then. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, national TV, kickoff NBC, around 8 o'clock or 8:15, what time the games kick off. Eastern time, the Dallas Cowboys at the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We all have the Buccaneers with a lot of confidence points. I got 15. Corey and Eric both have 13. I think we can agree that, Tampa Bay has a good offense and a good defense. Dallas has a good offense and a horrible defense. So Buccaneers at home, full stadium, getting their, I don't know if they're getting the rings, but there'll be, I'm sure, some sort of ceremony, and there'll be cannons and parrots and cheerleaders.
I'm sure there'll be a concert beforehand, like there was last year. Green Day will perform.
All that.
Why would Green Day perform?
Because they perform every year.
They're from California. That doesn't make
They still perform every year. Well, because like the kickoff concert is like around the country, like different venues.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's weird. It should be from the stadium. It should be a local talent.
Yeah, like last year they did it from SoFi, even though like the opening game was not at SoFi.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Anyway, I think we all agree the Buccaneers roll the Cowboys in front of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Cowboys' defense will be improved this year on last year, but by how much, I don't know, and it's definitely going to take a little bit of time for them to gel. The Buccaneers are at home. I'm going to take them here.
Yeah, I think that Dak coming off both the leg injury and whatever he was dealing with the shoulder, I assume he's fully healthy, but he hasn't.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, but he hasn't had the typical amount of work that you would expect in the offseason. And, with a veteran quarterback, that typically isn't a huge deal, but it could matter a little bit, especially when you're going up against such a good defense and against such a good opponent offensively where you're going to have to keep up with them offensively too. And I just don't think it's a good week for them, especially because we also know the history. Super Bowl winners typically roll in their openers. I think there's only been maybe one time that a home opener Super Bowl winning team has lost. I think maybe the Giants lost to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like I think the second time they won the Super Bowl, because the first time they got to play the football team, and God, it was Jim Zorn's first game. That was a disaster. But generally speaking,
Zorn.
yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, and but the Patriots did get their ass kicked by the Chiefs in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
That was the year that Alex Smith tore it up,
Yeah.
and Kareem Hunt's first play was a fumble, and everybody was like, and then he was amazing.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah, like he caught like a wheel route for a touchdown. That was just a blowout game. But typically, the defending Super Bowl champions take care of business in Week 1. So, Bucks by a decent margin in that one.
Yeah. All right, moving on to a toilet bowl of a game, frankly. Jaguars at Texans. Corey and Eric both have 6 on the Jags. I put 1 on the Texans.
So you can blame yourself for why we're talking about this one, Evan.
Oh,
So
okay.
why
Well, I just keep it quick. I think Tyrod Taylor is a professional quarterback. He's the Texans starter. I think he's going to be solid. And I don't trust the Jags to win any games. Just thinking about it, I get the sense they could be a frisky team, but when it comes to putting down some confidence points or my $2 on websites or whatever, I can't trust them. Urban Meyer, I don't think he knows what he's doing. Their offensive line is bad. They spent a first-round pick on a running back who's out for the year, injured. Their defense is bad because all their good defensive players play on the Ravens or played on the Ravens since they left the Jags. So, yeah, give me the Texans at home with 1.
Don't get me wrong. The Jaguars were foolish to draft ETN. I mean, you already had a really good running back in James Robinson. You should have spent that pick on somebody to protect your franchise quarterback that you took first overall. That said, the Jaguars have a lot more talent on their offense than the Texans do. The Texans have Brandon Cooks. That's it.
That's the list.
That's the list. David Johnson was adequate last year, but that was it.
And he's a year
Tyrod
older
Taylor,
now.
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna disagree with you, Evan. Tyrod Taylor is not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Well, he's starting on Sunday.
If he's not on a team where the quarterback has 20-some allegations of sexual assault levied against him. Defensively, Texans probably have a slight edge, but honestly, I don't know if the Texans defense is really going to be so overpowering against that porous offensive line the Jaguars have. So I mean, honestly, I probably should have put more than 6 points on the Jaguars, but I'm definitely going Jags.
Who the hell's on the Texans defense that's worthy of note? Like, who's there?
J.J. Watt's still there, isn't
No,
he?
he's not. He's gone.
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone?
Yeah.
How'd I miss
He's on the
that?
Cardinals.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so it's even worse than I
We
thought.
talked about it on here. They bought him out, and Jadeveon Clowney's long gone. Brian Cushing was always injured when he was there, and he's like retired or just roid raged out somewhere or something.
Oh, right. Watt is with the Cardinals now. I
just-
completely forgot.
They gave away AJ Boye years ago because they wanted to sign Brock Osweiler, which it's just wow. I mean, there's just nothing here. Like PFT commenter posted basically a challenge to name more than 2 Texans, and I was able to successfully do so just because I play fantasy football, and I know that David Johnson and Brandon Cooks are there. Plus, of course, Laramie Tunsil, who is just infamous because he decided to hotbox a gas mask the night before draft day, which caused him to fall in the draft a little bit to the Dolphins. And
I
then
was at that draft in the big crowd of people, and that news was buzzing around. It was insane.
I think one of my favorite things about doing the eliminating a team from the playoffs every week is that we get to have some moments like this where I'm going to roast Evan just a little bit, because if you're going to pick the Texans to win this game against the Jaguars, why didn't you eliminate the Jaguars with your first overall pick and save the Texans for one of us to take this week?
Yeah, that's what
I
I
would
was
have
gonna
gladly
say.
taken that, and Eric would have too.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I know the Texans are going to be horrible. I mean, give the Jaguars our perfect example. They started 1-0 last year
That
and
is
finished
true.
year 1-15.
Yes, they won their first game against the Colts, who were a playoff team,
Right.
and then just didn't win anymore.
Yeah. Nobody's going to lose all the games.
It's happened more often than people give it credit for. It's happened twice in the last 13 seasons,
That's true.
and it almost happened to the Browns. They barely squeaked out a win the year before they lost all the games. My
Yeah.
goodness.
And, of course, the 2007 Dolphins were the worst team ever, and they won a game.
They beat the Ravens.
Yes. Not that I'm not over that or anything.
Yeah, so I just don't see anything going for the Texans at all. And we also didn't mention, is David Culley a potential coach for a year candidate?
I don't think so, just because I feel like he's in the same situation as Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
the
but
people who hired him know the team sucks. There's only so much he can do as the coach.
I get the feeling that I'm talking more so maybe he just says I don't want to be here, because with the Lions, they're hitting the reset button when they traded Matt Stafford, but they at least seem to have non-scandals everywhere like the Texans do with their current quarterback, who we don't really know if he's going to be a quarterback anywhere coming up. You've got the awful ownership. They hired some pastor to be the new GM. Everybody,
What?
yeah, some Joel Osteen type of dude.
Oh, God.
It's like their general manager or something. They're just a hot mess and a joke of a franchise, to the point where they even outclass how bad the Lions are in terms of ineptitude and how much they like to step in it. So I could see David Culley saying, okay, it was nice getting 1 year as a head coach, but I don't want to do this here anymore, because he's got no real long-term prospects there anyway. He's going to get fired within a couple of years, because everybody gets fired within a couple of years, even if the team is horrific outside of the head coach's control. Maybe he just says, I'm going to get ahead of this thing and go find a coordinating job with a good team, so maybe I can finish
this
my
another
career with a
try.
little bit of dignity.
Yeah.
Even if he never gets another head coaching gig, maybe it's just, I don't want to do this anymore, because apparently the only team that gave me a shot only did so because they needed somebody for the time being, while they figure out how to unscrew themselves from how hardly they screwed themselves already. So
Yeah.
Texans are a joke, so I picked the Jags, who are just a little bit less of a joke.
Yeah. I mean, I only put 1 point, but, we'll see. The next game we got on the list, in case we have a new listener, we don't put all the games on here. Be sure to check out our blog for all the games, for all of our picks. That'll be posted maybe tomorrow, if not tonight.
Yeah, and you can also join our Pick'em contest on ESPN. We've put links all over our Twitter and Facebook pages over the last week or so. So
Yes.
if you don't know how to join, just go to one of those links, or you can DM us and we'll send you the link to join. Picks are due at game time, so if you forget to pick before Thursday one week, you can still pick the other 15 games and get plenty of points that way. But you can compete against us every week. On our blog posts, we'll put up the leaderboards for our listeners. Plus, of course, we'll keep you in the know on how we are performing.
Yeah. It's just like the NCAA tournament on ESPN that we did. It's a very similar process.
Yep.
So not too difficult. Please feel free to join if you would like.
And our leaderboards are both weekly and season long. So if you're a little bit late listening to this episode and you haven't caught the last couple episodes where we've talked about this, and you missed the first week, you can still join. And while you may be at a disadvantage for the season, you can still try and make a crazy comeback story, and you can also get on the weekly leaderboards.
Yeah, if you whoop our ass in the weekly, we'll give you a shout out too, even if you came in week 3 or 4. Doesn't
Absolutely.
matter. Like last year, Evan's sister came on the podcast and just completely emasculated the three of us, just dominated, and I was just.
Oh yeah.
I think Farron is actually listening tonight.
I was very impressed. I was like, wow, we are outclassed. Maybe Farron should replace us.
I saw on the list she's in there.
Is she? Awesome. All right.
Competing season long.
So
So
I look forward to losing to her this
Yeah, feel
year.
free to continue to kick the crap out of us. It's all good.
yeah, we're toast. We're the people supposed to know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're the ones that do this for fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway, we do have some other games to talk about.
Yeah. Chargers at football team. Capital F and capital T for, the team. We all have the Chargers with varying levels of confidence, I guess. Y'all have 2 points each. I put 5. Like I said last year, the Chargers are a drug I can't quit. Take off of the Chargers. Go Chargers, go. I think Justin Herbert's going to light it up. Good offense beats good defense in today's NFL. The football team, tries they might to play good defense and control the ball and all that kind of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, that type of thing doesn't always lead to victory. So having been a Ravens fan, watching that inept offense of the early and mid 2000s with that great defense, you're not going to beat a lot of good teams. There's plenty of speeches from Ray Lewis right before they take on Peyton Manning and get toasted. Not saying Justin Herbert's Peyton Manning, but he's pretty good. He's going to take a step forward, and he grew his hair back. So Chargers win. I'd be interested to see whose fans attend this game, because the football team has had trouble selling tickets.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of powder blue in the stadium.
But then the Chargers had the same problem. Like, are y'all going to this game, for example?
no.
Oh,
I'm watching Red Zone.
Yeah.
plenty of good
all day,
seats are
baby.
available, I assume. So
I actually initially picked the football team for this game. I feel like this should be a pretty close game. But honestly, the thing that it was with very low confidence, as I now have in the Chargers. The thing that swung me was the news today that Curtis Samuel is out. He's not going to play this week, and so while he is certainly not the most important piece of Washington's offense, those would be Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson. Beyond them, Logan Thomas is a decent player, and Curtis Samuel is a decent player. So, I think that they've probably lost almost a quarter, maybe a fifth of their offense with Curtis Samuel being out. And I think that that's enough to swing it back over when I was already fairly low on the team for this game.
Yeah, I'm not as high on the Chargers as Evan seems to be, and maybe Corey too. I feel like they're going to be pretty good, but Justin Herbert had a great rookie year. We're putting a lot of expectations on his shoulders, and I think he's going to have a fine season, but we haven't really seen the Chargers operate as a good team. So when playing Washington, who at the very least has great defensive personnel, is well coached, has some level of confidence in itself after making the playoffs last year despite only going 7-9, it just feels like a little bit of a game where the Chargers walk into a trap. And I realize that being at home doesn't really matter for Washington. If it did, I probably would have picked them. But, I just think that I just can't put a ton of confidence, or really any confidence at all, in the Chargers to win this game, because I don't want to sleep on what Washington's capable of. They can ruin any quarterback's day with that defensive front, and if that happens, then it's anybody's game.
And I think it's a fair point that Eric makes about the coaching, because Washington definitely has the advantage there. I mean,
you have to assume at least, yeah.
Rivera was the guy I was going back and forth with between him and Vrabel for my Coach of the Year pick.
I mean, I could, if Washington makes the playoffs this year with an actual respectable record, not a BS 7-9
which they would have
record,
to do if they make it as a wild card.
Yeah, like you selected, then yeah, I could see Ron Rivera earning Coach of the Year at that point. But I just don't see multiple teams from the NFC East making the playoffs.
I mean, the Chargers went 7-9 last year as well. So I mean, in a tougher, I'd say a tougher AFC.
At least a tougher AFC West.
Yeah, but anytime we keep expectations on the Chargers, they disappoint us. So
Yeah.
That's
just got to
true.
keep it real. Just can't trust them yet.
Yeah.
I need to actually see their special teams perform.
Or
Yes.
I need to see all three units perform at the same time, along with good clock management and smart play calling, for me to believe in them going
Who's the-
forward.
this year, right? Like, who's that poor guy?
Who's
Gotta
who?
put that
Their
uniform
punter?
on and do that job.
Yeah, I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah. Packers at Saints. This game's in Jacksonville because the city of New Orleans is dealing with, I guess, after effects from Hurricane Ida. Obviously, wishing people in the city of New Orleans the very best. We're going to talk about the football game. So apparently, the Saints picked Jacksonville to host their home game because they figured Jacksonville would be the toughest place for Packers fans to get to. But that's an
I
oversight.
thought it was just because normally they would have gone to like Houston or something, but Houston is hosting the Jaguars this week.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense as well. But, they figured that Packers fans would have a hard time getting to Jacksonville, but they forgot that Packers fans are everywhere, all the time.
They're omnipresent.
Right. Like, I'm sure there's a bunch of Packers fans that live in Orlando, for example. Just drive an hour to Jacksonville. So it's going to be full of cheeseheads down there. Eric and I both had the Packers with 10. Corey, you have the Saints with a point.
Yeah.
But we already talked about Aaron Rodgers. He's going to light it up and stuff. And now what is this?
I like the Saints defense. I like Jameis Winston.
He's throwing at least 2 picks in this game.
I
That's
think
gonna
he's
happen.
I think he's proven that he can win games while throwing multiple interceptions. He did that all year with the Buccaneers 2 years ago.
They won 7 games.
I predicted against the Colts that he would throw a pick in the first drive and that they would win the game, and it happened. And he threw another pick later in that game too.
It's a
And then the same
guarantee.
thing happened against the Lions, and I predicted that one as well. So
Every
I
week
think he
by
can
10
survive
after one,
an
Jameis
early
has
game
thrown an
pick. So
interception.
now, note, I only put 1 point on this because, I mean, I really do think that this is a toss-up. I'm kind of surprised you guys went 10 points. No doubt the Packers could win. You guys will get a huge haul that way, but I think this is a toss-up game. I don't think that there's a clear-cut one team is definitely better than the other. Not by that margin.
Okay. Eric, did you happen to know off the top of your head the line for this game? Like,
Off the top of my head, no, I do not. But that's easy information to acquire in a speedy fashion. So
oh, okay.
Looks like
Well, I'm
Corey
going
is
to
on
yammer
that.
for a second, I guess.
We'll see who gets it first.
well, I'm
Yeah,
not,
I
I'm not
just-
trying
I
anymore.
just-
So
The Packers roll in this game. I like all the stuff we said earlier about Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's out to prove it to everybody, even though we already know. He's pretty good. And this is going to be a great matchup on national TV. I think this game has to be at 4:25. I would assume so.
yeah, I think it was a game of the week. Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
like the Saints are 4-point dogs.
Oh. Okay, well, that's not a whole lot, I guess. But, this game's not in the Superdome anymore, which is unfortunate. I just have a hard time seeing the Packers not win. I think they win by...
I just think they're going to be a little bit shocked to not be playing the Bears in week 1 for once. It seems like that's an every year thing for them.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to the Bears in a minute.
Yeah, I put more confidence on the Packers probably just because, not because I think they're so much better than the Saints that they're going to dominate, but just because there's so many teams this year that I don't know what the hell to think about them, whereas I feel like I kind of have the Packers sussed. They are what they were the last couple of years, which is pretty damn good. And I feel like the Saints can be and will be a good team, but I feel like early in the season is when they're going to be at their most vulnerable. And the fact that they're forced to play this game not at home, hurts them big time. And, it's really, I only put 10 just because I had less confidence than everybody else because it's week 1. This game could be very competitive and the Saints could win, but I think that the Packers are a decided favorite, so I gave them a little more love than, say, I gave the Denver Broncos, which we'll talk about soon.
I mean, yeah, let's just roll right into that. Broncos at Giants. We're all in the Broncos. Corey has 9 points. I have 8. Eric, you have 1.
Yeah. I mean, the Broncos aren't a very good team. I don't think that they're a playoff contender this year. And they're going on the road. So, weird things happen when you go on the road, when you're not good. So, I worry a little bit just because I think that the Giants have a little bit of talent. They're not a complete crapshoot like the Houston Texans that we've talked about much too much on this podcast, to be honest. They've got Saquon Barkley back. They've got some okay receivers. And Daniel Jones is bad, which is why they're going to lose. But being at home helps a lot. And the only reason I picked the Broncos is because I think Teddy Bridgewater is super steady. And I think that he's not going to make the critical mistakes that flip games like that to home dogs winning, because neither one of these teams are that good. I don't see either team as being particularly well coached. I'm not really buying into anything that these teams are selling, so I'm going to go with the team I think is better. But the fact that they're on the road indicates to me that this game could be closer than people think.
I think that the Broncos they have a solid defense. They really upgraded their defensive back room. They still got Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. They've got Ronald Darby in free agency. They added Kyle Fuller in free agency. They have Patrick Surtain, the 9th overall pick. Bryce Callahan is one of the top nickel corners in the league, and he's with them now. I mean, they really upgraded their defense big time this offseason. I mean, that's a top 10 defense in my book this year. So between the steady 2 gloves of Teddy Bridgewater, a really good receiving core in Denver. I don't really love the running back situation, but they've got some really strong receivers. I like this Broncos team. When I was going through my rankings for the AFC, I was between them and Pittsburgh. I had the Patriots at number 9. I had the Broncos at number 8, just outside the playoffs. I think that this is a playoff contender.
I was agreeing with you, Corey, but you went a little too far for me personally. I think the Broncos do have a good defense. Like you said, I don't think they're a playoff contender, though. I just, sitting here comparing the 4 offenses and defenses that are gonna be in this game, the only unit that's good is the Broncos defense. So that pretty much sealed the deal for me. The Giants, I mean, they'll be competing with the Eagles for last place in this division. They're awful. Their general manager needs to be fired. It's just a mess over there. For such a organization that prides itself on being competent, they're not. So I have no confidence in the Giants at all.
So
Eli Manning and Lawrence Taylor are not walking through that door.
So, for the record, the Broncos are 3-point favorites against the Giants, which is pretty good, especially a team going on the road. But nevertheless, I don't really trust either team. I don't trust Vic Fangio. So, I mean, maybe I could have put more than 1 point on him, but, I don't feel super confident in them, so I don't really mind only having 1 point on them either.
Yeah, I probably should have like 6 to 5 points. I think 8 might be a lot.
And I should probably have like 3 or 4, but whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. We are completely undecided on this next game. Dolphins at Patriots. So I have the Patriots for 13 points. Eric has the Patriots for 3 points. and then Corey has the Dolphins for 3 points.
I'm more appalled by your pick, Evan, than by Corey's, to be clear. Like, Corey's makes sense, because I hemmed and hawed on this one a little bit. You? What are you doing? 13?
What am I doing?
13?
You know who's coaching the Patriots? Have you forgotten about him?
I'm sorry, but do
pretty
you know
good.
who's coaching the Dolphins? Because
Right,
put some respect on Brian Flores' name, please.
I seem to recall last year Bill Belichick was coaching the Patriots, and Brian Flores was coaching the Dolphins, and the Dolphins won 3 more games than the Patriots did last year. So what happened?
Well, they have Mac Jones now.
Oh, Mac
who's,
Jones, the savior. He's so good.
Yeah, the Dolphins have Tua full-time now.
Tua was better than Mac Jones, and they played on the same team in college. So.
I saw them both play in the same game, yes.
Yes. Which one was better at college football?
Well, Tua was better.
Yeah,
at
so there
college
you go. Answered your own
Yeah,
question.
no, I think the Patriots rolled in this game. I'm having a hard time trusting the Dolphins. Their offensive line is bad. They don't trust Tua like they should. When you have a young quarterback, you have to be willing to live with the growing pains. And there keeps being whispers in the bushes that they're trying to get rid of him already.
Tua will make believers of them over the course of this season.
Well, they're not believers now. That could only hurt his confidence level. The fact that his coaches and general manager are trying to send him up the road. The Patriots are getting a bunch of guys back from who sat out on from COVID last year. The Patriots have what seems to be a competent quarterback. We know they have good coaches.
Patriots did have the most players sit out for COVID last year.
Yeah.
They had 6 major players.
Yeah. Bill Belichick is a defensive wizard who can just scheme up stuff out of nothing, right? These guys who aren't any good on other teams are great for the Patriots. So, games in Foxborough, Patriots big for me.
Patriots big.
We shall see.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Patriots by 17 points.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, this sounds like something I would have said last year
yeah.
about the Steelers.
Yeah, that Steelers game when they were playing the Bengals. Yeah, ooh. That's rough.
Yeah, no, I don't see that. I see this being a tight game no matter which way it goes. Honestly, the only thing that makes me nervous about this game is that it's not in Miami. Because if it was in Miami, I'd probably go Dolphins heavy. I'd probably go double digits.
The Patriots always lose in Miami, even when they're good and the Dolphins are bad. Yeah, I picked the Patriots in this one just because they're at home. It's their home game; they'll probably win.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes me a little bit nervous about my pick.
Oh, I'm not nervous at all, but maybe I should be, right? But
we'll find out. It's week 1, man. We really don't know. We think we know, but we don't. Except for we know Tom Brady's going to the Super Bowl because
it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, he's got a deal.
Who else is going to go?
He cut a deal with the Illuminati, and now he's just gonna go to every Super Bowl until he's 85, and then he'll just disappear mysteriously. So
yeah.
So
as crazy of a year as it was in 2020, the Lakers won, the Dodgers won, and Tom Brady won. That seems to be.
And Alabama won.
And Alabama won. They cruised. It wasn't close.
Who won the Stanley Cup?
The Tampa Bay Lightning, who have repeated now.
Yeah.
So and they've been the best regular season team over the last 3 or 4 years. They're amazing. So, yeah. So again, for clarity, the New England Patriots are 2.5-point favorites at home against Miami. So the line indicates that Evan is a little too bullish on Bill Belichick and his boys out there in Foxborough.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, but fortune favors the bold, I guess. We're going for it from the jump here. Sunday Night Football, Bears at Rams. We're all on the Rams, all for 16 points. The Bears, they stink. Their general manager needs to be fired. their coach, who I correctly predicted to win Coach of the Year his first year, he needs to be fired. I don't know why they're starting Andy Dalton when they should be starting Justin Fields. Their offensive line sucks, and that's why their GM needs to be fired because he's responsible for all these people being on this team. They've frankly saved their jobs by drafting Justin Fields. If they didn't, they would draft somebody else. They'd certainly all be fired at the end of the year instead of just needing to be fired. So you pair all of that with the Rams, their first game in front of fans at their new $5 billion stadium. Aaron Donald is on the Rams. Enough said, right? They could block Aaron Donald with all 5 guys. It's not going to matter.
I do have to say I'm a little bit surprised to see Eric put 16 points on the Rams when he left them out of the playoffs. And
I didn't leave them out of the playoffs. They were my first wild card.
Oh, they were?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind.
I think they're going to be probably the third best team in the conference this year, behind Tampa and San Francisco. I think the Rams are going to be really good.
Yeah. Left them out of the
I thought
playoffs.
he left them out of the playoffs.
No, I did not. They were my
Okay.
first wild card.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah. I have it all down right here. I'll send it to y'all at the end.
I trust you, Evan.
That's the Rams. My handwriting is terrible, but
That's okay. So is mine.
yeah, we'll have to interpret later. Yeah, everybody, y'all can go to bed early on this one. That's my words of wise. Be nice and rested for Monday.
I got Robert Woods on my team though, so I got.
And it's the first Sunday night football game. You know.
But more importantly, I have Robert Woods.
Shout out to my boy Cooper Kupp. I think I only got him in 2 of my 3 leagues. I think. Maybe all 3.
You love you some Cooper Kupp.
I mean, I see why Cooper Kupp is awesome.
I've got
Dude,
Darrell
ball.
Henderson, but I think I'm benching him this week.
I got Darrell Henderson. I'm pondering whether to start him in my flex for my other league that I'm in.
I'm between him and Mike Davis. I'm probably going to go Mike Davis.
Should go Mike
Eagles
Davis.
defenses.
Yeah.
The Falcons' offense is going to be good.
Yeah. Anyway, we have one more game to talk about.
Yeah. Ravens at Raiders, Monday Night Football.
They cut down from 2 Monday night games to 1, and the Raiders are still in the Monday night game.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't know. I feel like there should be a Monday night doubleheader every week. Yes, me.
That's a lot.
I feel like that'd be a little much.
Yeah, well, a little much.
We got to get to SVP and bad
7
beats,
hours of
man.
commercial-free football, people.
I can't.
You
I
think
can't
that's
stay
not
up
a
till
little
1:30
much?
to watch that. It's too late.
No, not every week.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't even stay up for the rest of the primetime games. I usually go to bed at halftime because I'm turning into an old man. We all have the Ravens with double-digit points. Me and Eric, 14. Corey with 11. I mean, I don't think the Raiders are very good, to be honest. I feel like if I was not nervous about picking my team, I would have put 16 points. Like, I don't see the Ravens losing this game because they've had the last 7 months to prepare for it. Everybody knows what the deal is. I will say, though, this could be a revenge game for Darren Waller, who was drafted by the Ravens, but he had no shortage of issues while he was on the Ravens with drugs and addiction and stuff. And I'm frankly really glad to see he's being successful in his life in general. I mean, because he was dealing with some serious issues. And glad he's got that sorted out. But, I mean, Derek Carr's not very good. The Raiders' defense is bad. And the Ravens are just a legit organization from top to bottom. The Ravens' defense had been pretty poor, I guess, in from 2015-ish to 18 or so. In the last couple of years, they've really been focusing on building the defense to be what the Ravens defense is known to be. So they got some young pass rushers who I like. The secondary is still the best in the NFL. Some guy like Lamar Jackson is playing. Hopefully, Brady doesn't get COVID again. Could we wrap him in some polyurethane something that roof is made out of to keep him from getting COVID, please? Where's Kirk Cousins in the plexiglass when you need him? Oh my God.
So, I went slightly lower confidence than you guys, primarily just because there were other games that I felt more confident in my picks for. But also, I mean, it is in Las Vegas, and I do think that, I mean, I think that stadium's gonna be packed, and
Oh yeah.
I think it's gonna be really interesting to see, what the home field advantage is going to look like for that stadium,
Mhm.
and how loud it's gonna get in there and things of that nature. Um, and it's interesting because 2 years ago, we had the feel good story about Darren Waller during Hard Knocks when they were showing everything from the Raiders camp, and kind of had us all rooting for him through the season. And then midway through the season, he got a huge contract, and he'd played pretty well, but he hadn't necessarily established himself as like a top tier tight end. And then last year, he just absolutely broke out and was unstoppable. And I think he's going to be unstoppable again this year. And I think that he's going to keep them competitive in a lot of games. I don't think that the Ravens are in any danger of losing this game. But if I had to point to one of my high confidence games as one that maybe the other team could take, it's probably going to be this one on the road against a really talented tight end who has a decent quarterback throwing the ball who loves to throw the ball to him.
Yeah, I think the Raiders have proven that they can put up some points.
And they've proven that they can play up to the competition they're going up against. I mean, they beat the Chiefs last year.
They almost beat them,
and they almost beat them a second time.
Yeah, they played really well against.
So when they're facing really good teams, they tend to play up to that level. Again, I don't think that they'll do enough to win this game, but I'm not going to completely rule that possibility out.
Yeah, but I worry about Derek Carr when he faces really good defenses. I mean, we saw, like, I'll never forget that game, I think in 2017, where the Raiders, we thought they were all that in a bag of chips coming off their 2016 season, and then they played Washington on Monday Night Football, and I was just hoping that the team would compete, and they ended up kicking the crap out of them. Like, it was only close because of some goofy fumbles that the team had late in the game. Derek Carr, they had like 11 yards of offense or something ridiculous in that game. They could not move the ball.
Yards.
It might not have been that bad, but they did not move the ball at all. Every drive, it seemed, was a 3-and-out. And Derek Carr was just overwhelmed because, for whatever reason, his offensive line could not stop Washington's pass rush. And if that happens this week, and not saying it will because, the Raiders have a pretty decent offensive line, but if things get hot for Derek Carr, he can flounder, and as a result, that Raiders offense can be stopped. But I also just don't see any solution for the Raiders to stopping Lamar Jackson. You need a great defense to stop him. He can make good defenses look silly. They don't even have an NFL defense. Their defense is a joke. I would take Georgia's defense over theirs. That's hyperbole. I wouldn't actually, but it's that bad. It's that ugly for them. Every week they get toasted. They have bad coaching. Sorry, John Gruden, but your team has never been disciplined in the 4 years you've been there. Last year they blew that game against the Dolphins because they grabbed Ryan Fitzpatrick's face mask as he just chucked the ball up in the air, and for some reason the goofballs on the Raiders secondary couldn't just knock it down. They let somebody actually catch the ball and then tack on the extra 15 yards. I mean, it's just, they're a train wreck of a franchise. Like, they've got one good thing going for them, and that is they've got a pretty good offense. That's not going to cut it against a team that's going to out-prepare them, that has better offense than them already, and a better defense, and a better special teams unit, and just better everything. The Raiders have nothing to bring here that makes me say they can compete. Like, it's not like the Chiefs where the Chiefs defense is beatable so you can get into a shootout and maybe pull out a win. That's not going to happen against the Ravens.
Yeah. I mean, I hope we're right. I just know I'm gonna be really tired on Tuesday. All these late games, man. But I'll admit I'm a big fan of Sunday at 1. Go to bed nice and early. 'cause I'm not as young as I used to. Can't these quick turnarounds are pretty tough. Okay. We're at 2 hours now, just about. I think that's it. Am I missing something glaring?
I don't think so. We
No.
covered all the games we needed to.
Okay. Well, yeah. That'll do it for this week's show. Thank you all so much for listening. You can find this podcast wherever you're listening to it right now. In addition, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts,
Well, are
Amazon.
we going to do some shout-outs?
I will get to those.
Okay,
yes.
all right. Because usually we do this after the shout-outs, so.
Oh,
Proceed.
okay.
Keep going.
Yeah. Be sure to get in your confidence picks. They're on ESPNs. You don't have to email them to us like you did before. Be sure to get those in. Follow us on Twitter at SportsBallers18. Corey is on Twitter at Corey Puffett. Eric is at Quagmire67, and I am at Evan_Ash13. If you have any questions, concerns, or snide remarks about our podcast, or really anything, I guess, be sure to send us an email, thesportsballers@gmail.com. And if you made it this far into this podcast, be sure to go ahead and smash that subscribe button so our content will be beamed directly into your device so you can listen as soon as it is posted. Okay. Let's see. I want to shout out, today's my grandfather's birthday. So happy birthday to him. It's also Mina Kimes' birthday. The great Mina Kimes is celebrating a birthday today as well. I saw that on Twitter. Do you guys have anybody you would like to shout out before we get out of here?
Well, once again, my thunder has been stolen. I was also going to shout out Mina Kimes for a happy birthday, but also a rest in peace to Michael K. Williams, who died this weekend. For those of you who do and don't know, Michael K. Williams played Omar on The Wire, along with many other characters that were quite memorable. And shout out also to Kevin Brown for dropping some Omar quotes during the Orioles broadcast as they were dropping bombs against the Royals yesterday. That was classic Kevin Brown to know when to make the references in the moment. He is fantastic, and I hope he is able to stick around with the Orioles broadcasting team for a long, long time.
I'll just shout out my cross-country team. I'm really enjoying coaching them this fall. They're doing a fantastic job, working really hard. We had a great meet this past weekend at Georgetown Prep. Had 2 relay teams get trophies and another team get a medal. Our 4th place team got 34th place, which is the place that our 1st place team got 2 years ago at this same meet. So really happy with the effort they're putting in. And, if we have to put off doing the podcast until 7:30 p.m. on Wednesdays in order for me to coach, I'm glad that it's to coach this team. I love working with these guys.
Yeah, I'll sit outside your house and eat food.
when I rolled up at like 6:30. This is like an hour before it's time for us to actually start. And Eric is sitting out there, so I just like pull up. I'm like staring at him, like, what are you doing? And then he sat out there for another 45 minutes before he came in.
I was listening to the radio, man. I was enjoying myself.
I mean, you do what you love to do, man. So if that's eating McDonald's in your car in front of somebody else's house, then do that. Why not? Alrighty. So, wishing everybody, please be safe out there with the pandemic and regular day-to-day stuff. Pay attention to what you're doing when you're driving your car, for example. Tell people you love that you love them. Don't be a jerk as well. Just remember that. So yeah, I think that's about it. So for Corey and Eric, I'm Evan. This has been the Sports Ballers podcast. Enjoy the games this week. God bless football. So glad football is back. My goodness gracious. Enjoy the games. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will talk to you all next week.